Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mayor Fatemi. Getting into our next segment here, we discussed the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Thunder. We just in Game 3 of this series. We discussed Pacers and Knicks Game 3. We recapped that to start off the show, and we'll get back to that in this show later on in the show. But getting into our next segment here, we're switching gears over to Game 4 of this series because this is honestly one of the biggest games. I've said it many times already throughout these playoffs, but this is one of those monumental games. This is one of those games that changes the course of series. The Thunder win, they go up 3-1, they put the Timberwolves on the brink of elimination. If the Timberwolves win, you force a Game 5 back in Oklahoma City, tying this series up at 2-2 apiece and 2-2, 2 games apiece, and make it a best of 3. And Game 5 in OKC becomes even bigger than this one. So, yeah, basically, this is a crucial game for both of these teams. But who needs it more? That's what we're going to be discussing in this segment. But before I move any further, I'd like to remind you guys to please like and follow the show for more GSMC Sports Network content. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show. So to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I see it. It also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. And like I've said before, you guys are a big part of what we do here at the GSMC Sports Network. So please remember to leave a comment, leave a question, anything that you guys want me to give my opinion on, or any questions that you guys have for me to answer. Feel free to leave them in the chat. And it honestly makes the show much more interactive. So we appreciate anything that you guys have to say, or any questions, anything at all. We greatly appreciate that. And we'll see all of them in the chat right here if you leave your comment or question right there. But let's get right back into the action here, because that's enough talking about the chat. You guys know what to do. You guys know what to do. But let's get right back into it here. This is the Thunder. This is the Oklahoma City Thunder, the best team in the league. This is the Minnesota Timberwolves, probably one of the most shocking teams in the NBA playoffs so far. Not a lot of people expected them to make it back to their second straight Western Conference Finals. A lot of people had them losing to the Lakers. I was one of them. A lot of people had them losing to the Warriors. I was one of them. Even though I wouldn't pick the Warriors without Steph Curry over them. I was one of them. And now we have them in the conference finals, the Western Conference Finals, for the second year in a row. Going up against the best team in the league. Going up against the team that's kind of been the team that's burst onto the scene, led by SGA, that a young, scrappy team, deep team, just an unbelievable team in general in the Oklahoma City Thunder. And we discussed Game 3. We discussed Game 3 in the previous segment. So if you guys got to rewind that, feel free. Or if you guys want to just catch up with it later on when this is posted, we also can do that. Just a quick recap: the Thunder lost Game 3 to the Timberwolves pretty decisively. Timberwolves blew them out in Game 3, and yeah, pretty much this is a game that the Thunder need to bounce back in, regardless of the outcome. If you see another blowout from the Timberwolves tonight in Game 4, expect the Timberwolves to come out and win this series. That's pretty much the message that's going to be sent to anybody watching the game. It's going to send the message that the Thunder are still too young. Their SGA still needs help around them. They still need to get another star. This team is not built for the moment. This, that, and the other. And I've been one of those people. I've been one of those people all playoffs long that said the Thunder are too young. They need more time to grow and mesh with one another. They need another piece to back up SGA when he's having a tough time shooting the basketball, because Jalen Williams is not at that caliber yet to fully trust him. Chet Holmgren's not there yet. Isaiah Joe, Alex Caruso. You have a bunch of great role players, but you don't have enough stars to carry that offense, to let those role players blossom around you. So It's like having a dinner without having the entree. You have a great appetizer, you have a great bunch of great side dishes, a great dessert. Sorry about that. That scared me too. But you don't have the entree. That's what it feels like the Thunder are missing. You have SGA, but you need more to pair with them to make to give the Thunder the best chance that they have to win the finals. But, and I say but, because they've been pleasantly surprising me all playoffs long. They surprised me against they surprised me against the Grizzlies with how well they played in that series. They surprised me against the Nuggets, how they even came back. They fought adversity. It looked like the Nuggets were going to win that series, and they came out in game 7 and gave the Nuggets no chance to win game 7. This is pretty much one of those games. You have to just take the bull by the horns, and it can't be your fault while they lose. If Anthony Edwards goes off for 45 points, Julius Randle goes off for 30 points, and the rest of the team has a phenomenal game, that is one thing. That is one thing, and if that happens, nothing to say if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, because it's not your fault. You played the best that you could, and you lost to Squeaker, and now it's going to Game 5 in Oklahoma City, and it's still a toss-up series. However, if the Thunder lose decisively tonight, the Timberwolves get a major, major momentum boost. If the Timberwolves lose decisively tonight, the Thunder are going to look to close out the series in Game 5 on their home floor in OKC. So, who needs to win more tonight? Obviously, it's going to be the Timberwolves to kind of try and to extend this series to a Game 6. To make it 2-2, going back to OKC, to put the pressure back on OKC. But OKC's still in it. And OKC has just as much of an argument on who needs to win the game more. Because this would be their first time making the NBA Finals since the year with Kevin Durant in 2014, when they got swept by the Miami Heat. This is a Thunder team led by SGA, an incredibly young core in OKC that's looking to win their first championship, trying to make their first NBA Finals as a group at the very least. Both of these teams trying to do the same thing, funny enough. But, yeah, in this game, it comes down to the Minnesota Timberwolves, in my opinion. It comes down to the play of Minnesota. It comes down to the defense of the Thunder. It comes down to how the Thunder respond in this game after getting punched in the mouth in Game 3. Are they going to come back? Are they going to come back out and wilt over? I don't expect that. That's not the Thunder team that we've seen all playoff long. And we know from the Timberwolves what to expect from them. They will be ready to go in this game. If there's one thing I can promise you guys, as if you guys are going to watch this game tonight, and if any of you guys are Timberwolves or Thunder fans, expect fireworks in this one. Expect physicality, expect a close game, because both of these teams are going to come out like they got shot out of a cannon. Timberwolves have a lot of momentum, have a lot of hope, a lot of reborn hope. The Thunder have a little bit of disdain. That game 3 put a foul taste in their mouth, getting blown out by 40 points. They're going to come out looking like they have something to prove. They will be ready to go in this Game 4. But I think it comes down to the play of the stars. I really do. It comes down to Ant-Man versus SGA. It comes down to Julius Randle versus Jalen Williams. It comes down to the rest of the role players on both teams. As much as we want to say the Thunder are deep, this is the difference between this series and the Knicks and Pacers series is the Timberwolves somehow, some way, in a way that we had no idea possible. What was the one thing that we lamented about throughout the regular season? And I'm going to take a little bit of a step back so you guys can see me a little bit better. But what is the one thing that we lamented about the Minnesota Timberwolves when we were going throughout the regular season? We said, Anthony Edwards is phenomenal. He's continuing to grow. Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle are growing their chemistry late in the season, but this is something that's new. It's not something that we've seen for a while now. It's something that they've kind of grown on the fly here. And that they have a great young core around them with Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, whatnot. The one thing that we can say that the Knicks don't have that the Timberwolves have is that they can match up with the depths. They can match up with the Thunder's depth. Somehow, some way. I'm not saying they can consistently do it. I'm not saying that their depth is better than the Thunder. No. No. If I had to pick a depth, I'm picking the Thunder every single time. But I'd be lying if I said that the Timberwolves had no chance. They have more star players. They have more experienced players. They've been in these situations more often. Naz Reid is a sixth man of the year. Anthony Edwards is obviously star player. We're not talking about the star players. Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker's hit big shots in the playoffs before. He's been in the playoffs for many years now. Mike Conley's been in the league forever. He's a seasoned veteran. You have Jaden McDaniels, who's just burst onto the scene, who's gaining experience as we've on the fly here. And honestly, this might be crazy to say, but there is a world where we can group up the Jaden McDaniels, the Austin Reeves, the Jalen Williams, and group them up and put them all in the same pool, in the same category. Because they're all just like one of those role players that's looking to get into the 2 or 3 option range. Number 2, number 3 option to be a part of a big 3. They're in that range, but they're not there yet. They're gaining experience. So I think the Timberwolves, honestly, in a way, match up with the Thunder much more than probably any other team that the Thunder have faced so far in the playoffs. But I'm still picking the Thunder's depth. I think it comes down to the star players. I think the star players on Minnesota have an advantage over OKC, but I think OKC's depth has an advantage over Minnesota, if that makes sense. There's a lot of canceling out factors, and that's why the series is honestly, when you look at it on paper, it's supposed to be much closer than it is right now. 2-1 is still close, but we wouldn't expect the blowout that we saw in Game 3. We didn't expect the blowout that we saw, in Game 1. I think Game 2 was a little bit closer. I'm trying to remember. I don't know why I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But these are teams that are going to continue to go to war with one another. Game 1 was a blowout. Game 2 was a 15-point win. I remember the Timberwolves tried to climb back into that one late in the game, cutting the lead less than to under 10 points. But it was honestly the Thunder, when they get a lead, if you want to beat the Thunder, you have to keep the game close throughout the fourth quarter. And honestly, you have to treat the Thunder like you used to treat the Warriors, because the Thunder have a great group of closers. That is the one thing that we have to say about them. They know how to close games. If it's a close game in the fourth quarter, you better hope you have the lead, and you cannot give it up. Just ask the Nuggets how they played in Game 4 and Game 5, being outscored 62-38 in both of those games at the end of Game 4 and Game 5 in the fourth quarters of both of those games. That is what we're talking about here. That is the Thunder team that we're talking about. And as inexperienced, as young as they are, they still have, for whatever reason, it's just, it has to be the personality, the culture that's been built over there, the confidence that everybody has in one another. But the way that they're able to close games is something that a lot of teams out there in the NBA cannot do outside of the Thunder, outside of the Thunder's expertise. They can't do it. It's tried to be replicated before, but it's never happened. So, if you're the Timberwolves, keep the game close and try to go into the fourth quarter with a lead. Because if you're down in the game, like if you're down in the way you were in Game 1 and Game 2, you're looking at a 3-1 deficit, most likely. It's not 100% obviously, but most likely. So, yeah. I think this game's going to be close regardless, though. I would be shocked if we saw a game that's dominated by either the Thunder or the Timberwolves. I think we're in for a great game tonight. And honestly, I still think this is going to be one of the best games of the playoffs. But I'm going to leave it there. This segment has dragged on a little bit longer than I expected it to, so I'm going to put a pin in it there. And we'll come back tomorrow for more discussion on this series. But coming up next, that's not the end of the show. I hope I didn't get you guys to start clicking off yet. But I'm going to take a short break. Coming up next, we're going to switch gears back over to the Eastern Conference Finals. Is there cause to pause for the Pacers after their loss last night? We'll discuss everything in that game, and we'll discuss both of these teams, how they've been playing throughout this series, and give a little bit of a preview for tonight's massive Game 4. Because let's say the Knicks can win Game 4 and can tie the series up at 2-2 apiece. We'll discuss that in the next segment coming right up. You're watching the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Don't go anywhere.